Hello and welcome, I am Raziel, and if you're like me, you're getting impatient for Warhammer the Old World, I would suggest start playing Mantic's Kings of War. Mantic's Kings of War is a fantastic fantasy game, which has actually got a lot in common with Warhammer Fantasy, and especially when the original writer was Alessio Calvatore, who also went and developed several Warhammer Fantasy games as well. Now, the thing about Mantic is that I honestly believe that their models look better than what Games Workshop produces. Now, we're just going to wait for these plasticians to come out and explain how they're actually working with inferior products, with inferior methods, whereas if that's true, and if they are, it just means they're making a better product with inferior goods, which shows even when handicapped, they're better than Games Workshop. It's like beating them with one hand tied behind their back. A silly argument to make when you say, yeah, they don't make their modelling method isn't as good, but they're making fantastic models. Now, a couple of things about Mantic which I really like, especially Kings of War, not just the way the models look, is they have this method of making games really accessible. Now, Games Workshop do their battle boxes where you get 2 armies for a limited time and that's it. Now, Mantic have what could be considered battle boxes, but aren't really, because they are starter boxes and they're not limited editions. They last throughout the game, throughout the edition, and at the moment they have 4. They have the Kings of War, Ice and Shadow, which is Northern Alliance and Night Stalkers. Night Stalkers are like your demons. They are demons, and they look really demonic. This is one of the ways I say that games, Mantic do models better than Games Workshop, because their demons actually look like demons, not like they all look different. They all look gribbly. They all look nasty. And like these were, let's be honest, except for the blood corn ones, you'd be more confused by anything that Nurgle, Slaanesh and Tzeentch, you'd be very confused with Slaanesh and Tzeentch produced, whereas Khorne you'd be like, yeah, I'm going to die. These guys just look, things like they're completely out of your nightmares, and that's what the demons should look like, not anything else. And that's, again, this is just my opinion, and I think it's that Mantic models just look better. Northern Alliance look good too, and in this box you get some nice big ones and 2 flying models. So you got some nice centerpieces and everything else, and which things I like. I do like a good centerpiece in that box, and you get some in here, some nice big ones. Next is the Sands of Armon. Now, Sands of Armon. This box was great for anyone thinking about doing Tomb Kings for the Old World, because you got the Empire of Dust. The Empire of Dust is it's the Egyptian undead. It's like the Tomb Kings, exactly like, and that's it. And ogres. So yeah, if people are doing Tomb Kings, that is definitely worth looking at and playing as in this game, because it's very similar, and ogres are the same. Ogres are not the same, they are ogres, basically is what I mean. Then you have a Storm in the Shires, which has halflings and rich forged orcs. Orcs are orcs, and they look like orcs, which makes them look fantastic. Orcs not looking like orcs is a big misstep for me. Like, if I see a fantasy and orcs don't look like orcs, I always get like, wait, what are these meant to be? Even in Warcraft, when the red orcs still looked orky, they looked nasty, they looked like they'd rip your arms off, either for a giggle or because, some other reason that just pops in their head that would be a good idea to cut your head, to rip your arms off. And against halflings, which just seems so funny. The halfling models look really fun too. They just look like so many nice little models, and they look like it'd be really fun to play. And the final one is War in the Holds. I actually have this box. It's a fantastic box, and you have Ratkin, which are Skaven, and goblins. Again, goblins look like goblins. Everything's ramshackle. It looks like it's all been picked up and borrowed or stolen. And the Ratkin look like, well, they look like rats. Again, everything is broken apart. It just looks like they just smashed it together and said, well, this is a shield now, even though it's just basically a bit of sheet metal. Where, like I said, the goblins really does look like it's a bit stuffed and nicked. And you have one of the best looking models that Mantic produces, and that's the Goblin Wiz. The Goblin Wiz is a fun model. And with that, they actually have several units which would be able, if you're not playing tournament or any official stage, you can use things like the Abyssal Dwarves, which are basically Chaos Dwarves. So even when people were begging for Chaos Dwarves, Mantic provided. People were begging for Tomb Kings, Mantic provided. So this is one of the things I like as well. But they do actually seem to listen to what the tabletop community is asking for. And I remember when people were just begging for things like the Chaos Dwarves thing and the Tomb Kings and stuff like that. And honestly, it just seemed that with I don't really want to go and diss Games Workshop, but when people were literally screaming for this and they just didn't listen, it seemed a little bit daft not to. Like when people say this is what we want and you're like, yeah, we're not going to give it to you, it just, but like I said, and again, Mantic do listen to the community again, because let's go to Firefight, because Firefight's a fun game as well. I'll be talking about that one later, not today, in a different day. Mantic do listen. They brought out squads when people were asking for squads. They brought out the Forge Files. It's a great set of models. But back to Kings of War. Kings of War also have a very similar rule set to the original Warhammer Fantasy. Playing this really does remind me of playing the old Warhammer games. You don't need vast armies. You can have a nice. The 2-player set is just fantastic for anyone to start the game with. It's exactly what you need. And there you go. And you don't. It's just so much fun. It really does remind me of the old Warhammer Fantasy battles. It really reminds me of playing those games. And it made me happy that I could make a proper Skaven army again and not have this. Well, actually have an army that's Skaven, not anything else. Not in this kind of pseudo Skaven what we're getting now. The only thing that really remains is the what's it called? The Plague Monks. But yeah, the Ratkins are fantastic. And the Ratkin Ambush set, which is a fantastic starter set, is a £35 box. And it's such a great deal. It's 41 models, because you also get the nasty big monster with it, which is a fun monster as well. It looks so good. It looks so good. Anyway, as I was saying, but this game is Kings of War really does remind me of playing Warhammer the Old World, Warhammer Fantasy. It's got the turn-based combat. It's turn-based. Actually, it's activation-based, which is even better than Warhammer Fantasy. It's square bases. It's rank and file, and there you go. And the lore is better too. And I'm sorry, but Games Workshop lore is getting very, very samey at the moment. But you have things like the Night Stalkers, which are basically demons, and I mean real demons, as in they split from heaven demons. Like, that's what makes them so scary. You have dwarves being dwarves, you have elves being elves, and you have everyone else fighting everyone else. But on Panafor, it's always a reason for it. It's a decent reason. Like, when you have literal demons from hell coming in to mess you up, you've got to fight for survival. So there you go. Play honestly. If you're looking forward to playing Warhammer the Old World, before you do that, go and get Mantic's Kings of War box. Get any of the 4 starter boxes. They're all great. They're all fun to make. They're all fun to build. And painting them is something else. They're the most fun models to paint I've had in a long time. I really enjoy painting those models. They make me look really good too. As you go. Well, thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'll speak to you all soon. One more video tonight. And we'll be at around about 10 o'clock. And I'll speak to you then. Have a great day. And I'll see you tomorrow. And later, I should say. Oh, links to Wayland Games. So if you want to save some money on Mantic. So basically making a cheaper game even cheaper. You can go to there. And you've got Forbidden Planet. If you like comics. You've got my comics as well, and my merchandise and Patreon. But as always, with my Patreon, please, 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 just treat yourself to something nice first before you just give me money. I'm grateful for the money, but I'd rather you treat yourself, because, you know, you're just special. You deserve it. And I'll speak to you all later.